Collective, there is a reason why you haven't been in a relationship in a while. Okay? It's not because, this generation is this and that, you know what I mean? Singleness is not an illness. In fact, a lot of people should be single right now. A lot of them. It would save a lot of people from heartbreak. The reason why you have been single for a while now, and you may be getting a little frustrated with it sometimes, okay? Especially like at the beginning of your healing era, you may be like, why? And even though now you understand, okay, I get now why I had to be alone, stuff like that. And this video is not to say you shouldn't wish for a relationship, and it's not to say it's not in your life story, okay? But you had to have this time that you've spent single to face yourself, because a lot of people get into relationships, get married, so that they can avoid themselves. They can avoid confronting themselves. A relationship can be such a fake, can give you a false sense of adulthood, I guess, and healing and happiness. This is why people who are single like you may feel like you're not doing this adulting thing right, because you don't have this stable relationship and you don't have you're not married, you don't have kids, stuff like that. But a lot of people are just performing adulthood, and they're avoiding facing themselves, because when you're in a relationship, you are focused on the other person. How is this person making you happy? You are literally outsourcing your happiness to someone else. Now, a relationship is not inherently bad if you are healthy or relatively healthy human beings. But when you are unhealthy, it can be just another form of escapism. And the thing about it, that the reason why being single is better than being in a relationship when you're in this space, is because you are literally just spreading the hurt through a relationship, just making things more complicated than they should be. When you are single, or when it seems like it's quiet, nothing is happening, no one is looking your way, you are forced to confront yourself. You are forced to confront yourself. You are forced to find things that you wouldn't find if you were in a relationship. Because a lot of people do not have the ability to make themselves happy. They don't even like their own company. When they are single, they are bored. They don't know what to do with themselves. And they only feel the will to live and the zest for living and the excitement of life when they are getting to know someone romantically. And because you have a different path, okay? You have a different path, and I feel like you may have had time a period in your life before where you were like in relationships in succession, like it wasn't hard to be in a relationship. You got to experience that for a reason, because your spirit guides wanted you to get in relationships so that you see that it's not all that. Okay, it's not all of that, so that you remember that it's not all that. It's not worth slowing down your expansion. You know what I mean? And you had that period, even though it's not like you were looking forward to this single period. No, it's not like you were looking forward, but now you can see, okay, this is why, because you had to face yourself. And once you get into a relationship, you will have one of the most healthiest, happiest, flowing, soft, romantic type of love, because you have the space, you have built the emotional maturity, you know yourself through and through, you know your good and the bad. And also during this time, you've learned how to entertain yourself, how to be responsible for your own happiness and joy and your purpose, that when you get into a relationship, you have the space to share that with someone, but you know that when you are single again, you will not fall apart. Because some people are in relationships so much that they actually feel like if they are single, if they break up with that person, they will fall apart. Life will not be worth living anymore. But I'm getting that you will actually be much more present in relationships, and you will not make any decisions or choices based on fear of losing that person, because it's like you're gonna say like, life is good that you're here with me, but life is still okay even when you're not here, because you understand that other human beings are not the source. They're not God. They're human beings. You know what I mean? So it's like you understood that singleness can be a good thing for you, and it's like you broke a generational curse regarding that, because I'm getting it's a generational thing in your family or in your community, where people feel like the only time they feel fulfilled, the only time they feel like they're doing life right, the only time they're feeling that they're doing adulthood right is getting into relationships. And it's like you even thinking to yourself, like, I've seen just growing up people around me were in relationships, but none of, like, you cannot even point to one relationship where you can say this worked out. And this is not because relationships are like a myth, they're not real, but it's just that you were surrounded by people who are in relationship for the wrong reasons, people who did not question like, why don't relationships around me work out? You know, people who wanted to escape themselves, who did not want to face themselves and do the inner work. But there's always one or two or just a few people in communities, in families, in environments where they kind of like wake up, and they tend to be the family member that has like long periods of being single. They don't have a family at the age that they're expected to have family. You know what I mean? They don't have kids willy-nilly, you know. And the thing is, you may be a little bit like, sometimes like, when is this happening for me? You have those days, you know what I mean? It's not like you just yay, I'm single all the time. But you had to experience this so that you know that singleness is not some disease that should be avoided at all cost. And now you're being asked to operate with a heart of openness, of course, because any relationship, friendship can happen at any time. But trust yourself and trust me when I say you are in the perfect position to be in a relationship right now. Doesn't mean that every relationship you get into is gonna work out, but you're gonna have relatively healthy relationships with relatively healthy breakups. If breakups happens, you're gonna have like a very boring dating life, and boring in a good sense that you won't have these chaotic, unstable type of relationships, because even if things don't work out, it will be very civil. You're gonna be dealing with a lot of like respectful people. Yeah, and you will also attract people who understand this about singleness, and you feel very repelled by someone who thinks that you are the source of their happiness. You can just tell when someone thinks that you will wipe away their problems. Your presence in their lives will wipe away their problems. That will actually raise your alarms, because it's like you understand you're a human being and you want someone who is in control of their own happiness and who will not burden you with the work that they're supposed to do for themselves. Yes. So the reason why it's really hard for you to get into a relationship is because not a lot of people are doing this work. A lot of people are just in relationships out of convenience. They see that everyone is in one, so they want to get in one as well. They're very led by their primal desires, which are not inherently bad. But as human beings, we're meant to be conscious beings, not make decisions based off our primal desires only. You know what I mean? So not a lot of people are doing this work, and you find that the more you do the work, the less like your dating pool shrinks significantly. And this is because even if sometimes when you do meet people approach you, it's like the low vibrations of that person, even if they're an eye candy, like you cannot stand it. You just require more now. You require more. But be very careful of turning cynical in this phase, because you can get cynical real easy, get into the relationships are not real, love is not real type of vibe. That is a very low vibrational space to be in. God designed relationships to happen. Romantic love is not a myth. I believe it's possible. It's possible, but I think what we should let go of is entitlement. Okay, not entitlement. What am I talking about? The timeline. I wanted to say timeline. The timeline. Okay, you're not gonna be the type of person who has who does this whole adulting thing in their 20s. You're not that kind of person. Okay. And you need to stop judging yourself for that. But I get it, because you spend a lot of time in your life thinking that things are going to happen like this and this and this. So it's like you almost have to grieve that. You almost have to grieve that thing. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. But I can assure you that if you continue with this mindset, you will you will get the best parts of romantic love, you know, because it's not something you can perform. A lot of people, especially in the beginning of relationship, perform what they think a happy relationship is, and they cannot manage that image because eventually they get tired of performing, and consciously and subconsciously they reveal their true selves. But because of how authentic you move, you, you will not perform it. Like, to other people it will almost come off as too perfect, or like they will ask like, there's no way they don't have problems. It will seem so performative to them because they're used to people starting off great and then hearing rumors that, oh, this thing happened, chaos is, they fought, they this. But you'll almost have a sickening, boring, stable relationship. Like, people will be so annoyed, like they don't have any problem, they're so chilled, like they're so chilled. But you'll inspire some people in your community as well, where they'll literally see that, damn, this type of love is really, it does exist. It does exist. And that's the thing about being the template, the blueprint almost in your community, because I'm getting that you're one of the first people who will have a healthy relationship in your family, in your environment. And because you did not have any model, it's like, damn, I don't have any relationships that I look up to. I don't have anyone that I look up to, like because you're gonna be the model, one of the first models in your community, you know. And that's the sacrifice about being one of the first ones, okay? Because you had no one to look up to. But the good thing is you are literally starting a trend for future generations of your family. And if even though you will never witness it, and that's part of the reason why you have to continue, because someone in future, in the generations of your family, will have role models upon role models, and it all started with you, okay? They will never feel this ostracized. They'll never feel like there's something wrong with them because they think a different way than some of their families. Even though you'll still be a few, because this is a hard journey. So, like, literally the narrow road, not the road less traveled, basically. So even though it's not going to be many of you, but as generations go on and on and on, because you literally starting a trend in each generation. A few people will be inspired to follow the same road, but unfortunately you are one, like you're the first one, and it's very isolating. You have to look for role models outside of your community. Yeah, but the future has to give you a little bit of solace, I guess. And the thing is, you'll never, unless you like reincarnate, you will never really like witness the influence, the impact, the generational impact you have. But that's the way life goes. We don't do this for our credit anyways. You know what I mean? Yeah, so keep on. You literally did it. You saw that singleness is not just about not having a partner. It's a chance to grow internally, to know yourself internally. And imagine being in a relationship and you think you know yourself, but you don't. You will be in relationship with a certain confidence because you know yourself. And I saw this video. This actually inspired by the video that I saw on YouTube. I think the title was "Many People Marry to Divorce Themselves." That like I was like, whoa, fool. People marry to divorce themselves. I found that to be true. I found that to be